balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic. Providing context on today's events, this is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick. Well, we have a little bit of, I don't know, some people might say bad news, some people might say upsetting news, some people might even just be, whatever, it happens. But we did have a development occur in Trump's picks, which is fine. He followed up immediately with potentially a better pick, possibly, for the position. We'll get into that in just a minute, but first, let's head on over to the Pledge of Allegiance, led by our very own Amy Jean Viner over on Rumble. So, if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hats if you're wearing one, and place your hand over your hearts, and let's all follow along with Amy in the recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you very much, Amy, for that wonderful rendition of the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would like your rendition of the Pledge of Allegiance played here on the program, all you have to do is record yourself performing it. Record yourself reciting the pledge in your style, however you want to do it, and then take that file, whether it's audio file, video file, whatever, take that file, attach it to an email, and send it off to me. Send it to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. And of course, I will take it and get you into the rotation. As you heard a couple days ago, we had Bam join into the rotation too. So, I mean, obviously, it's capable of happening. I've got them all. Come on now. Y'all should be able to do it. Yeah, 3 Chevy says attach it with a paperclip. I don't think that's going to work digitally, but that's okay. That's actually the symbol. He's kind of being facetious. That's actually the symbol that's used to attach things to an email. Anyway. All right. Let's get on to tonight's headline sponsor, which is the Institute on the Constitution. The Institute on the Constitution was established in 2004 as a 501c3 nonprofit with one singular mission: to restore the constitutional republic through grassroots education. All courses and materials are developed using primary source documents and taught from the American view of law and government, as defined in the Declaration of Independence in the following 3 key points. 1, there is a God. 2, our rights come from him. And 3, the purpose of civil government is to secure and protect our God-given rights. The IOTC offers the opportunity to educate yourself on our most precious founding document, the Constitution of the United States. They also provide tools to educate your community and get involved with local government. Start by taking their free U.S. Constitution course and go from there. Use my affiliate link, iotc.americanperspective.online, and to sign up. And while you are there, take a moment to look through their other course material and information. My affiliate link, once again, is iotc.americanperspective.online to get great content to learn about our historical founding and support the show in the process. That's iotc.americanperspective.online. Or if you just want to purchase this fabulous Saddleback leather-bound U.S. Constitution to support the show, go to constitution.americanperspective.online. Check this thing out. It's got 1/8 of an inch of Saddleback leather wrapped around pages that are water and tear resistant, all put together by this stitched binding. No cheap glue here, folks. It is stitched all the way through the leather. It has a 100-year warranty against material and defects in workmanship, such that if you send it back to the manufacturer, they will either fix it or replace it for free. It is buddy tested, buddy approved, Billy tasted, Billy approved, and my youngest whiskey warrior has confirmed that the information inside here is accurate and will help you get your civics badge in Scouts. It probably also will help you get your civics exam taken care of too. Go to constitution.americanperspective.online to get yours today. And I'm telling you right now, these are great stocking stuffers for all of your both conservative and liberal friends. Give them out. Hand them out to everybody. Stick them in the stocking. There you go. Get yourself a bunch. Go to constitution.americanperspective.online and get yours today. Also, check out the rest that the IOTC, the Institute on the Constitution, has to offer, and I thank them for allowing me to be an affiliate. All right. So, we did have a bit of a downer this morning. But first, before we get into that, apparently the House Ethics Committee was on the side of Matt Gaetz. Maybe not exactly, but they originally reported, just like some of you were telling me last night, they originally reported that they were not going to release the Gaetz report. They apparently called it an unfinished work product and said that the report has not gone through the review process. So they went ahead and we're not going to release the report. This was based off of Representatives Michael Guest, who was the chairman of the committee. He told reporters after the panel met to vote on November 20th, which was yesterday, there was not an agreement by the committee to release the report. So they weren't going to release it. However, all of that being the case, Matt Gaetz withdrew from the Attorney General nomination. Now, he posted on X about it and basically said that while the momentum was strong, it was clear that my confirmation was unfairly becoming a distraction to the critical work of the Trump-Vance transition. He said there was no time to waste on a needlessly practiced Washington scuffle. Thus, I'll be withdrawing my name from consideration to serve as Attorney General. Trump's DOJ must be in place and ready on day one. Okay. The news comes amid a swirl of allegations surrounding Gaetz. Now, keep in mind, Sonny Hostin, I told you last night, had to issue a legal retraction for things that she said about it. And, I mean, let's be honest with each other. You know, it's sort of, this is the way of the left. They do this lawfare, they do this slander and innuendo and all of these other things in order to be able to essentially, get their way. And it essentially was causing some serious concerns with everything. I think that with all of the reports coming out of the Senate, there were several Republicans who are rhinos, so on and so forth. And, it basically was becoming a bit of a drag. And like Matt said, Trump's cabinet has got to get in place quickly. And so while it might not be the best choice, it might not be the preferred choice, I think discretion is the better part of valor here, and this might be something that they essentially figured, rather than messing around, we'll just go ahead and back out. Now, that being the case, they still have some controversial picks that are on the docket, but he definitely was one of the top individuals that were causing a lot of controversy and heartache with the whole confirmation process. I mean, they would have had to do, seriously, we know that he wouldn't have gained confirmation. More than likely, he wouldn't have gained confirmation. They would have had to do backflips in order to get him in. You know, they were already talking about recess appointments and all these other things that, you know, essentially looks like some gerrymandering, that kind of thing, in order to try and get him in. So, you know, I honestly think that this is nothing unusual. And I wouldn't necessarily look at it. Besides, keep in mind, he is now free, not only of being the representative, but he's also free to do something else that may not need confirmation in order to get him in it. So, I'm sure there is still a place within Trump's team where Matt Gaetz could potentially be, for that. Now, we also now know who Trump is going to nominate for his replacement. That was announced here in the Washington Examiner. Trump announces Pam Bondi as the next Attorney General pick. So Pam Bondi is the former Florida Attorney General, and she served as the Attorney General of Florida from 2011 to 2019. And she also is best known as serving as one of Trump's defense lawyers during his first impeachment. So we have some interesting, you know, again, the Republican bench, all right, is deep. It is really deep. We have a lot of very talented people on the Republican side. The Democrats, not so much. They have sort of dried up some of the holes that they have been pulling from for years. They don't really have anybody other than and especially because of the fact that the left has taken over their party, they don't have very many extremists that are able to be replaced and put into certain positions. They don't have enough of the higher up, shall we say, more extreme part of the party. So they don't have a very big bench. And, you know, we got enough. It's okay. So Truth, on Truth Social, Trump praised her for being very tough on violent criminals. He continued and said, then as Florida's first female attorney general, she worked to stop the trafficking of deadly drugs, reduce the tragedy of fentanyl overdose deaths, which have destroyed many families across our country. She did such an incredible job that I asked her to serve on our opioid and drug abuse commission during my first term. We saved many lives. So, I mean, obviously, he's starting to go into some of his first term picks, but she's apparently, you know, at least I'm being told by a lot of my Whiskey Warrior P1s out there on Rumble who actually live in Florida. They're all saying that first of all, that she is a good pick, and that she is she's, you know, Florida itself is becoming the bastion of conservative values and picks, because let's face it, there's a lot of picks that are coming out of Florida. Honestly, I think the reason why there's so many picks coming out of Florida is because, you know, Trump lives in Florida and he knows these people. He tried to use in his first term, and I mentioned this before, he attempted to use his try and appease both sides. And it didn't quite work in his first term. And so now he's like, I'm done. I'm picking who I want, when I want. And this is what's going to happen. So we'll have to see what the left kind of comes up with on her. But I would imagine that she's probably not quite as offensive to them as Matt Gaetz. And like I said, Matt Gaetz, don't expect that he is going to disappear. He is not. He will probably be around. So, anyway. Also, too, well, apparently, at least according to G over here, he was watching on X, and X, they were saying that Matt was loud while Bondi is called a silent killer. And, of course, Amy Jean Viner, Bondi is good. Yeah. Like I said, our bench is deep, and they just don't seem to understand it. They, meaning the Democrats, as far as they're concerned. All right. So there is another pick that happened that appears to be, I'm not going to say controversial, but a lot of people sort of made fun of her when she was picked. And I honestly, I'm kind of on the fence about it. I don't really, this particular pick, this education secretary pick, isn't exactly high on my list of priorities, but I'm sure that there's going to be some things that come out about this. But let's take a look at the Epic Times, who wrote an article saying 5 things to know about Linda McMahon, Trump's nominee for education secretary. So for those of you who may or may not know, who are not fans of the World Wrestling Entertainment or the World Wrestling Federation, back when it was the WWF, Linda McMahon is the former wife of the president, Vince McMahon of the WWE. And she also served as CEO of the WWE for a certain amount of time. And so now he's picked her. McMahon, of course, has been a major donor and fundraiser for his campaigns. She's currently co-chair of his transition team. But what a lot of people don't seem to know is that she actually served in the first Trump administration as well. So McMahon was the administrator of the Small Business Administration from February of 2017 to April of 2019, after her nomination by Trump was confirmed by the Senate with a vote of 81 to 19. The SBA, which had more than 2,800 employees, helped small businesses by providing financing, including loans. During her tenure, and this, of course, all in the piece, in the Epic Times piece, during her tenure, McMahon led the SBA in providing assistance to small businesses after Hurricane Harvey in 2017. McMahon subsequently was chair of America First Action Super PAC and America First Policy LLC, which played major roles in Trump's 2020 presidential campaign. Now, as I just mentioned, co-founded WWE. McMahon and her husband, Vince McMahon, founded World Wrestling Entertainment in 1980, originally called Titan Sports, Inc. It is the largest wrestling league in the world. She served as the organization CEO before they started WWE. The McMahons faced hardship. Linda said in a National Press Club in 2018 that our house was auctioned off, my car was repossessed in the driveway, I was pregnant with our second child, so on and so forth. So there you go. She has business experience. Let's put that and CEO experience as well. She did run for Senate, apparently, both times in 2010 and 2012. In 2010, she was defeated by Senator Richard Blumenthal in Connecticut. And 2 years later, she lost to Senator Chris Murphy in Connecticut also. Prior to running for the Senate, like I said, she was at the WWE until 2009. But she also, and this is applicable experience here, folks, She was appointed to the Connecticut Board of Education. Now, if her nomination is confirmed, she will succeed Miguel Cardona, who also worked in Connecticut's education field as the state's education commissioner. So there you go. She apparently was part of Trump's policy think tank known as America First Policy Institute, which advocates for Agenda 47. And like I also told you, she is co-chair of his transition team. So I think this one will probably go through without a problem, as far as all the picks go. And they're just going to, I can tell you the left is just going to go on and on and on about her WWE experience, WWE, WWF, experience and stuff. So anyway, whatever. All right. We've got some more immigration stuff that seems to have popped up. But before I get going on that, actually, let me correct myself. Let me go ahead and continue on that. But before I do, let me take a drink. All right. My voice is a little out of sorts for right now, but that's okay. Not a problem. We will continue on. Mark, I'm not sure if I should take that as a compliment or not. Mark says, I'm okay on Mark K, which that he's talking about the Mark K show. But whiskey uses big words. I'm not that intelligent. That's not true. You're part of the most intelligent listening audience on the interwebs, which is, there you go. All right. All right. So let's move on. Apparently we have some more immigration news that has come up. And this is a little odd. This is a little odd. Sorry. Before I move on, Music Man has graciously donated a Rumble rant where he says, for real, Donald J. Trump is in the WWE Hall of Fame. Yes, he is. That is a fact. He is in the WWE Hall of Fame. I honestly don't know what for, but he is there. So it is fact. It is fact for that. And thank you for the Rumble rant. That is awesome. I do appreciate that. I don't know about being smarter than the average bear there, 3 Chevy, but because I know some bears are pretty dang smart. They some pretty smart fellers. Anyway, thanks for the compliment, though. I do appreciate it. All right, let's move on here to the Washington Examiner. The Washington Examiner, which says Trump advisors in talks to replace Biden term undocumented immigrant with illegal alien. Why? Why do they even have to have this conversation? Because of the fact that, well, let's get into the piece. One of the first actions that President-elect Donald Trump could take comes on January 20th, 2025 at noon. By the way, it has to be noon. Or I should say after noon. Is rescinding the Biden's administration ban on the term illegal alien. I wasn't even aware that there was a Biden administration ban on the term illegal alien. I mean, it's right here in our laws. Take a look right here from the Cornell Law Institute or Legal Information Institute. Title 8 of CFR Part 212 right here says admission of certain inadmissible aliens. And it also uses alien in other places down in the law. It's all there. Right here, parole determination for alien witnesses and informants for whom a law enforcement authority will request classification. Yeah. So I wasn't even aware that there was like even a conversation about this crap, or that there was some sort of a ban on it. But anyway, I guess they're having conversations about bringing it back for some reason. So advisors to Trump's transition team on Homeland Security matters told the Washington Examiner this week that there have already been discussions on doing away with the Biden administration's politically correct immigration language to talk about illegal aliens at the border and within the country. In this present administration, we used undocumented immigrants, right? Said a former high-ranking immigration official who is now involved in advising the transition team on policy. Expect all of that to change. A second official involved in advising transition officials confirmed that talks on returning to illegal alien were true. I don't see anyone at the U.S. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement or U.S. Customs and Border Protection using any euphemisms for illegal aliens after January 20th, the second official said. Well, it's in our laws, folks. I mean, seriously, it's that's the legal term. That's the legal term. Anyone who crosses the border illegally, who is not a U.S. citizen, is a illegal alien. I've told you this before. Freaking A. Anyway, apparently, John Fabricatore, a retired ICE field office director, who was named by the three sources as the top candidate to lead ICE under Trump, said he had not heard of the talks, but supported the notion. He's like, what's wrong with illegal alien? It connotates no race, religion, or culture. And this is where he wrote this in a message on Wednesday. It's purely a legal term that was hijacked in an Orwellian attempt to control the messaging about illegal immigration. Yeah. So, yeah, these are I mean, legally, the legal term is illegal alien. I mean, I showed you it's all over our Immigration and Naturalization Act. It's all over our code of the code that we go by, the legal code, U.S. codes. It's all over it. Anyway, the idea, back to the piece, the idea of reverting back to illegal alien would come nearly 4 years after the border crisis overtook President Joe Biden's first 100 days in office. The same time, the Biden administration officials dictated how Department of Homeland Security employees would refer to immigrants in custody. Okay. Immigrants would indicate a legal status there. But yeah, it's illegal alien. That's just all it is. So in April of 2021, Troy Miller, who is a senior official performing the duties of the CBP commissioner, told the agency's 60,000 personnel to stop using the terms illegal alien, alien, and assimilation. Yeah. The change represented an attempt by the Biden administration to get rid of decades-old legal terms that were used by Republican and Democratic administrations in the past, but were increasingly seen by progressive Democrats as inhumane. Employees were told to start using non-citizen or migrant for alien, undocumented for illegal, and integration for assimilation. Okay, so for those of you who may not recall, there we go. I got my thing back. For those of you who may not recall, the proper term for anyone, again, is illegal alien, and also, too, that undocumented is literally illegal. I mean, seriously, come on. The whole thing about this is, of course, the Democrats need to 1984 style take control of our language in order to be able to attempt to, control our narrative, control the narratives. I mean, that's straight out of Saul Alinsky's thing, is controlling the language and being able to put out propaganda. This is nothing new. I mean, that's what they do, is they attempt to change all of our language. And so there we go. That's what we got. But I wasn't even aware that the Biden administration, although it's not really surprising to me, but I wasn't even aware that the Biden administration had done that in sort of a shall we say, a executional format or executive format. That's what I want to do. So anyway, I don't know. I can't even imagine why they wouldn't use the legal term. That's the only thing that just boggles my mind. But then again, that's Democrats. Democrats do boggle my mind. Well, we're not done with the immigration stuff yet. Okay. Because of the fact, jeez, sorry, my chat has gone nuts. They've gone nuts again. They're out there. Yeah, my live chat is nuts. All right. So, apparently we're not going to be done with the immigrants, the illegal aliens coming down the road. I'll tell you why, because reportedly here in hot air, reportedly, a migrant caravan wants to try breaching the border before Trump makes office. This was posted by Colin Rugg on X. New 1,500 migrants have formed a caravan in southern Mexico to storm the U.S. border before Trump takes office. The migrants are reportedly coming from Central and South America. The migrants say they need to get to the border before Inauguration Day. And it goes on and talks about because they think it will be easier to cross with Biden and Harris in office. It is going to be more difficult, but that's why we are going in hopes of getting an appointment quicker so that we are able to cross before Trump takes office. Said a Venezuelan migrant, according to the AP. Venezuelan migrant. Let me scratch my head here and think about it. A Venezuelan migrant. How much you want to bet that he's probably part of that Tren de Aragua thing? I mean, really? Anyway. Yeah, so we're not done with the immigration part yet, folks. We aren't. We're definitely not done. So here they go. They're coming this way one more time. One last time before Trump takes office. Yeah, and our current borders are VP Harris, the moron who lost, won't stop that at all. So anyway. Well, Texas, which has been on the front lines of a lot of these migrant fights, has actually decided to continue to help out. They want to continue to help out. In fact, according to the Epic Times, the Texas has offered a 1,400-acre ranch to Trump for the mass deportations program. A Texas commissioner wrote, I am writing to formally offer 1,402 acres of land in Starr County, Texas, to be used to construct deportation facilities. Yeah, 1,400 acres. Texas General Land Office said it has offered President-elect Donald Trump a 1,400-acre ranch in a county located near the U.S.-Mexico border to build centers for mass deportations. Land Office Commissioner Dawn Buckingham said in a November 19th letter to the president-elect that the land in Starr County was recently purchased by the state. She added in the letter that the parcel is located about 35 miles to the west of McAllen, Texas. She also added that her office is fully prepared to work with federal immigration agencies. She said a facility could be built on the tract of land for processing, detention, and coordination of the largest deportation of violent criminals in our nation's history, echoing campaign statements made by Trump and his surrogates regarding his mass deportation plan. Buckingham's office told Trump that Texas purchased the ranch with the intent to construct its own 1.4-mile border wall on an area bordering the Rio Grande after the land's owner had declined to allow the wall to be constructed on the property and it blocked law enforcement from entering the area. She wrote, I am committed to using every available means at my disposal to gain complete operational security of our border. Trump campaign did not respond to a request for comment by the Epoch Times by publication time. The president-elect has also not publicly responded to the offer. So, yeah. Apparently, in this past election, Trump became the first Republican presidential candidate in more than 120 years to actually flip Starr County. Since 1896, the county, which is more than 97% Hispanic or Latino, had voted in favor of Democratic candidates. Trump has promised to stage the largest deportation operation in U.S. history. There's an estimated 11 million people. I think it's actually more than that. I think it's more like 15 million. But anyway, to the country illegally. So Texas is going to be right on top of it. And I'll bet you Tom Homan would be so glad to, take care of this little thing. And, yeah. Anyway, on the border issue. Yeah. So there you go. So he's already got a migrant. Let's see. What does Trump have here? He's already got a migrant train coming toward the border before he gets in. He has now a possibility of land that the Texas state has decided to, hey, we'll go ahead and let you put in a detention facility. It's already there, already been approved, so on and so forth. So, yeah. So there we go. His border czar, Tom Homan, has essentially been saying, yep, all right, all you governors, you guys think you're doing okay. Just make sure that you don't cross the line. So, yeah, Texas. Don't mess with Texas, baby. Lone Star State will kick your ass. They will chew you up and spit you out if you're on the wrong side of it, I'm telling you. Anyway. All right. Well, we have, unfortunately, the silence has been broken. The silence of one staunch leftist lunatic moron in Hollywood has finally been broken. He threatened at one point to light himself on fire if Trump got elected again, in the hopes that people would really care about him. Well, apparently not enough of the country did, because they voted for Trump anyway. Yep. I'm talking about meathead himself, Rob Reiner. Rob Reiner has finally, quote unquote, returned to X. And by return to X, I just basically mean that he started posting on X again. He has threatened to leave X before. He has taken sabbaticals and come back because he needs that adoration, which, I mean, that's pretty much what all Democrats, and especially those in Hollywood, need. They can't run without those adoration stuff. They cannot live without it. Well, anyway, he apparently, by the way, took a stint over on Blue Sky and reportedly posted that Blue Sky was actually just as bad, if not worse, than X. These people, they cannot find their safe space. Anyway, here in the Daily Fetch, TDS sufferer Rob Reiner breaks silence for the first time since Trump's victory. And here's what he wrote. And this is the part that I can't imagine. I can't imagine what these people are thinking in terms of that. Okay. I just can't imagine. Yeah. Bam mentions that Ellen has left for England. Ellen DeGeneres, her and her husband, wife, whatever she is, significant other, took off to England. Yeah, they'll be back. So yeah, like she said, this time I'm really, 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 really going. Yeah. Anyway, so Rob, meathead himself, puts in this tweet. Okay, and first of all, you got to understand. I mean, this guy is like probably the king of all the TDS sufferers in the world. But anyway, now that America, here's what he said. Now that America has elected a convicted felon with authoritarian proclivities, here he is trying to like sound really, it's sound really intelligent. But anyway, I fear that democracy's return won't be anytime soon. The long-term solutions are daunting. Democrats need to readopt the 50-state strategy. And more importantly, okay, this is the key. All right, this is the key. You guys really need to pay attention here. This is the key. And more importantly, a competitive information distribution system must be built to combat the massive disinformation currently being fed to the American people. End of quote. And yes, I did just say end of quote. Meathead seems to believe that the mainstream media has been feeding misinformation to the American people. Hey, Robbie, seriously, dude, first of all, don't light yourself on fire. Okay. That would really hurt. And it would be frankly kind of stupid. But the mainstream media is putting out misinformation. Why do you think people left the mainstream media for shows like mine, like Dan Bongino's, like Mark Levin's, like Ben Shapiro, which, by the way, Dan Bongino and Ben Shapiro appear to be the top podcasters in the conservative space. And we're not talking about like Joe Rogan, because Joe Rogan is a podcaster, but he's no conservative. But anyway, really? Okay, you guys want to build a competitive information distribution system to combat disinformation. Yeah. In fact, people, apparently, the American people in particular, are so tired of the misinformation and disinformation that's out there that you have MSNBC, their week is going from bad to worse in about 48 hours, according to the Daily Caller. So apparently they're in a ratings free fall, a 53% plummet just since the election. Now think about that for just a second. They lost 53% of their viewers just since November, we'll call it 6th. We're now November 20th, or 21st, actually. So in 2 weeks, they've lost half their viewership. A little over half their viewership. And by the way, too, that has forced the cable giant who owns them, Comcast. Comcast has announced plans to spin off MSNBC and CNBC after this crash. Here again in the Daily Caller, different article though. Comcast announced plans to spin off a number of cable channels once viewed as prime assets days after MSNBC's ratings fell, according to the Wall Street Journal. The cable giant is spinning off MSNBC, CNBC, USA, E, Oxygen, Sci-Fi, and other channels in news and entertainment, the Wall Street Journal reported. The news comes after MSNBC ratings fell by 53% following the election, according to the New York Times. The networks bring in roughly $7 billion in revenue, according to the Wall Street Journal, which noted that the broadcast network NBC, the Peacock streaming service, and the reality-focused Bravo channel will remain under Comcast. So ratings for the Morning Joe started declining after Joe Scarborough said at the start of Morning Joe Monday that he and his co-host and wife, Mika Brzezinski, met with Trump Friday for the first time in 7 years at Mar-a-Lago, saying they needed to restart communications. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Comcast has also announced leadership changes, with Mark Lazarus being named CEO for the new venture, Donna Langley being named chairman of NBC Universal Entertainment and Studios, and Mount Strauss is being placed in charge of sports, ad sales, and distribution, according to the Wall Street Journal. So apparently they're not doing well enough, and so what they're doing is they're essentially shaking things up a little bit and trying to make things a little bit better. They're not even bothering to, think about why they are failing. Like lack of information, lack of truthful information, which you're supposed to be in terms of a media outlet, especially one that is supposed to be reporting news, not necessarily opinion. This here is a completely opinion-rated show. This is my opinion. I am an American, and it is my perspective. That's why it's called American Perspective. But I'm an opinion host. I'm not a news source. I pull from news sources, and I provide my opinion on those news sources. But if you're claiming to be a news source and a journalist, you should be reporting the truth and reporting it with as little bias as possible. That's how that works. And these people are not doing that. So part of the reason why this is all going downhill, the piece points out, is MSNBC hosts and guests routinely hype the claims that Trump's 2016 campaign colluded with Russian government to defeat former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, and repeatedly had Democratic Representative Adam Schiff of California, who often made claims about alleged collusion between the 2016 Trump campaign and Russia on the air, not to mention the fact that the Steele dossier was later discredited. So, yeah, folks, this shouldn't really be any surprise to anybody. I mean, seriously, this really shouldn't. These people, they deserve to get exactly like what they need. That just, I mean, I don't know. I'm sort of like, well, am I sorry that it happened? I don't know. I think it's just the fact that it's getting all around, but there you go. Anyway. Well, I got to tell you, one of the things that the left likes to do is they love to compare the American system and what the American system does in terms of our government, things like universal health care, things like, taxes, things like immigration and stuff like that. Sorry, I had to take a drink there. Immigration and stuff like that, where they compare us to Europe. And they say, hey, Europe is doing things so much better. So much better. Well, folks, I don't think the left is really going to compare us to at least Sweden anymore. Reason being is because Sweden is actually turning toward conservatives and a conservative outlook, especially when it comes to immigration. Wait, what? Yep, right here in Breitbart. Sweden looks to limit citizenship to those who share fundamental values. And they are going to restrict non-citizen voting. Yeah. Yes. Sweden is actually taking what would be considered a conservative American approach to citizenship and immigration, apparently. So the center-right government of Sweden is looking to limit citizenship to those who agree with the fundamental values of the nation and to restrict voting of non-citizens, the Deputy Prime Minister Ebba Busch said. In yet another admission of failure of the multicultural experiment embarked upon previous neoliberal governments in Stockholm, which has resulted in over the fifth of the country's population being foreign-born, leaders of the Christian Democrats and Deputy PM Ebba Busch has declared that it has become far too easy to become a Swedish citizen and that obtaining Swedish citizenship is a privilege. She wrote she was writing a statement, I guess. So in this statement, she says, anyone who wants to become a part of Sweden must share our common fundamental values. Giving tens of thousands of new Swedish citizenships to people who do not really share the basic values is not reasonable. Last year, about 70,000 new citizenships were granted without language requirements or sharing basic values that make Sweden Sweden. Folks, this just, sorry, but this just makes sense. Now, one of the major things that I've had a little bit of complaints about in terms of America is that we do not have a national language described. Okay. You cannot have a cohesive country if you do not have a basis in fundamental values. It used to be that people coming to America wanted and were looking for freedom and liberty. They were looking for a certain set of values and principles that America puts forth, and they would come here and assimilate. Oh my gosh, there's one of those words that the Biden administration tried to get rid of. They would assimilate into society. They would take the best from their culture, they would throw away the worst, and they would assimilate into our society. And that's essentially where we are today. people who don't come here to assimilate, who basically bring their culture into ours and then attempt to take that over, is ridiculous. And this is one example. Sweden is finally waking up to the realization that, hey, this is a bit of a problem. This is part of the reason why the entire conversation with regards to the foundation of this country being Judeo-Christian principles and values is so important. You know, if we don't have those same principles and values that, in this particular case, that religion has handed off to us culturally, then you cannot live or exist together. If you don't have the same general foundational principles and values, the collaboration that you end up with turns into more of an anarchist scenario rather than one that is based upon law and order. And whether the anarchists, the leftists, the anti-religious all sit here and talk about, you have to have a common set of foundational values in order to be able to coexist and be able to come to some sort of consensus. It doesn't have to be all the time consensus, but some sort of a consensus on some general principles. This is why. This is why. So, you know, bravo to Sweden for waking up. Also, too, I've been told by my rumblers, which are fantastic. Justin Trudeau occasionally said that, or apparently said here recently, that he was wrong and the Canadian border is not as open as what it used to be. So anyway. So yeah, this is, yeah. So there you go. I just don't understand why people can't figure out that, hey, we can live in a society or live in a society that has different cultures, but unless you have the same basic fundamental values, those different cultures are eventually going to clash. And when they clash, well, that's when we end up with things like wars. Because that happens. Anyway. All right, everybody. That is it for me this evening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com. Get yourself an account. It's free. And once you are there, make sure that you search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button. And make sure you subscribe, because that, of course, means that you'll get notified every time I go live. Also, too, don't forget on your way out to hit those thumbs up and likes buttons on all of my channels, outlets, whether it's X, Facebook, YouTube, or Rumble, because all of that helps to elevate these videos and get more exposure. Okay? We will see you tomorrow night. It's Friday. Tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.
The previous broadcast was produced and is owned by Active Eye Media LLC. All rights reserved.